The Sounders clinch a playoff spot. Megan Rapinoe's last home game. And the Mariners, they just want to win 54%. Welcome back to another episode of the Seattle Sports Show. I'm your host, Mikey. This is the show where we love Seattle pro sports, and we're here to talk about it and grow our fandom. All right. So, with that being said, let's get right into our main topic, and it is going to be about the Mariners. So, let's play the little intro here. You are not going to be hearing fans cheering and being excited about that with the Mariners right now, though, because the end of season press conference where you heard Jerry Dipoto doing most of the talking was just horrendous. Horrendous. It was absolutely horrible. Gives you no confidence as a Mariners fan. I mean, at the time of this recording, you know, it's about a week later. So you've heard all about it by now. So I'm just here to vent about it. I mean, it's just and honestly, it hasn't gotten better. Okay, so everybody heard. Okay, and this is the thing that gets the headlines. The 54%. That's not even really the worst part to me. All right, so 54%. Jerry Dipoto up there. They're coming after a loss, and he's up there talking about winning 54%, which is actually what we did this season. We got 88 wins, which just happens to be 54%. Did not get into the playoffs. All right, so Jerry Dipoto, he's talking about how that's his goal, is to win 54% of the time, and that got blown out of proportion, right? I mean, you really had to find the whole thing. Again, they didn't even televise this press conference, and they used the excuse of, there being MLB playoffs, so they didn't want to distract. Well, other teams did end of season conferences that were not in the playoffs and televised them. So there's absolutely no reason why they didn't need to televise this, other than they knew that it was going to go horribly, right? Because they know they messed up. They should have been in the playoffs this year, and they didn't make it. And it wasn't just the players' fault, right? It wasn't. There was a lot of ups and downs by players in their performances this year, but it wasn't just their fault. There was more that should have been done in the front office to get this team into the playoffs. So they knew this wasn't going to go good, and it didn't go good. Again, the 54%. Talking about how you want to win 54% over a 10-year period. And that's why I say it was blown out of proportion, the 54% thing. Because I get what he was saying, and I heard him go on Brock and Salk and further, emphasize why you want to win 54%. And he was talking about over a 10-year period, okay? Teams that win 54% of their games tend, on average, on a yearly average, okay? So some years you're going to win 54%, but that's that's where you want to average. Some years you're going to win, 60, 62, 63%, and that's going to get you in, in the 90s, mid 90s, high 90s. and that's going to definitely get you the playoff spot. But you want to average at least 54% because that means you're constantly winning and you're constantly at least being in the mix of getting in the playoffs or getting a wild card spot, or unfortunately for us this year, missing out in the playoffs by one game because we just got the 54%. But I understand what he's saying. With that, over that 10-year period, that is going to give you the most chances to get into the playoffs, which then, hopefully your players perform in the playoffs and get you a World Series. All right, we just are coming off of a 20-year drought of not making the playoffs. So yes, as a Mariners fan, I would like to be in the playoffs every year because that gives you the chance to get that World Series. So I actually like that part. The 54%, like I said, it got blown out of proportion. And when you say 54% out loud, it does not sound good. So I understand why that part really stood out to people. Like when you're saying that you want to win 54% of the time. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't sound good. This year, it only missed you making the playoffs by one game and only missed you winning the division by 2 games. So remember, it's baseball, 162 games. So, and the most games ever won 116, right? So it's not like you're winning 75% of the games. This isn't, this isn't football. So, I get the 54% thing. Now, here's what I don't. It's not that I don't get it. This is what I don't like. All right, the confidence and arrogance that they had during this press conference when talking about it, saying, "Hey, we're doing the fans a favor actually by going for this goal and asking them to be patient because doing this strategy is what's going to eventually keep us in the playoffs and be a constant contender," which again I do want. But you after a season you just didn't make the playoffs, you can't come out here and be so arrogant that what you're and confident in what you're doing and making it sound like, well, you know so much better than the fans do. Okay, not acceptable. What's also not acceptable is their attitude about what they need to do to get this team better. They clearly did not do a good job in the offseason in free agency to bring in the right players to help this team. Okay? We know how bad Colton Wong was on our team here. We know La Stella did not work out whatsoever here. AJ Pollock, what was he even doing here? Okay, you had guys on your roster. Again, they had to perform, but these are players that you didn't, they weren't going to be the stars on your team. They weren't going to be guys that you were adding to your team that were going to put your team over the top. They were just, you were hoping to be nice additions. If they would have just played to at least their average, you were just hoping that they were going to be nice additions to your team that would help boost the rest of your core. Well, you didn't take into consideration that, maybe if one of the members of what you consider the core has a down year, how that could really affect everything else, and you can't just settle for, the players that you settled for. All right, and to hear them being so confident in their plan, and then also saying we're doing the fans a favor. No, you're not doing. What would be doing us a favor is to go out and get the players that we actually need. Go out and get players. Don't. In this same press conference, they're saying how, they still feel like, well, they're not just a big player away. They are not sure if they really have to go out and spend money on a big name player. Well, you're right. You should spend money on multiple big name players because this team is that close. That's how I see it. We're just, again, look at the, you know, as I was saying, I just didn't think the Texas Rangers were that good. It did not surprise me that they fell as hard as they did. We ended up not being able to pass them and get into the playoffs, but it didn't surprise me that they fell as fast as and as hard as they did. But their lineup, their lineup is something, right? You're kind of up and down that whole lineup. You're kind of nervous about everybody at bat. We got not we that is something the Mariners did not have this year at any point during the season, right? So they needed to go out and do a better job of getting players that would actually, be competitive at bats and maybe even strike some fear into other teams up and down the lineup. And they didn't do that. They need to do that this year. Again, it doesn't have to be all big name players, but I would love to see 6, 7, 8, 9 those batters come up to the plate and people actually feel like, oh, we still have something going here. We still have a good chance. Like I don't feel like, oh, this guy's going to bat 176 average for 2 months, and we're just not going to get anything out of this spot, right? So don't come at me with this arrogance that you're doing the fans a favor and that your plan is going according to plan, because it's not. It's absolutely not. And you messed up at the trade deadline. You traded away your closer, who's closing games out in the playoffs right now, and was a leader in that clubhouse and well beloved in that clubhouse. And it definitely sent a message to the team this year that you didn't believe in this year, because they voiced their opinions on that move showed them that you didn't believe that they were going to do it because of how bad you messed up. Again, it was not the core that messed up, because of how bad you messed up in identifying players that could come help this team. The core of this team, the players that you brought in for this season, were so bad that they actually hurt the core of this team, right? They brought the team down. That's how bad those players were that you identified that you thought could come help this team. So yeah, you do need to do a better job of getting players this season, and it's going to cost you more money. Do the Mariners have players in the farm system that are looking good? Sure. Are any of them ready to come up to the big leagues right now? Sounds like it's still, a couple of years away before any of them are going to be in the big leagues. So they're not coming right away right now. So, the whole draft, develop, trade. Well, you're drafted, okay, but again, we've been building this farm system, so you've been drafting. You're in the process of developing them, so they're not coming up right now. Your trades did not go well this year, so it wasn't good. You failed. The front office absolutely failed. So that was the other thing from another quote from this press conference, where they said they felt like the organization took a step forward. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, you still did a good job of drafting. We assume that we're still doing a good job of developing the way we're seeing these players play in the minor leagues. But that's not helping the big leagues right now. All right, that's not helping the team that we want to see in the World Series right now. So if those players aren't ready to come up right now, then yeah, you need to do a better job trading, and you need to do a better job in this season. Going into the free agency and actually signing some players that are going to be here. Now, I get what Jerry said as well. Maybe some players are just not going to want to come here, because sometimes the Mariners do offer more money to some players, and they still end up not wanting to come here, right? Well, that just means you're going to have to be more competitive on some of those on those other players that you could possibly bring here who are just looking for money. The ownership is going to have to be willing to spend some money. This fan base deserves it. They're showing up. Once again, I believe the Mariners, were at the top of the league for attendance throughout the entire season. I'm sure that's going to end up meaning that we're somewhere towards the top of the league for the team revenue again. Okay, so spend some of that money and get some players in here that is going to help this team and players that the fans want to see. Right, like I said, this was like a week ago, so you all heard about it a ton by now. So I'm not going to spend much more time on it. Just really disappointing to hear. And again, the apology that Jerry DePoto gave on Brock and Sock, it wasn't enough for me, and it shouldn't be enough for any fan of this team. The only thing that is going to fix, the things that they said in this press conference is their actions. And again, because of things they said in this press conference, it doesn't give me any confidence that they're going to do the things that we want to see them do. But they could prove me wrong. They could prove us all wrong by going out and signing a Shohei Ohtani if he decides he wants to come here. I think everybody's still saying they're favoring him to go to the Dodgers, but you never know. Maybe if they could get that done, that would be the biggest thing they could do. Can they go out and find a way to get Juan Soto? That's another one I've been hearing. Let's see. As much as they say they're not a big name away, they don't want it. Talking about that 54% thing is about the draft, develop and trade thing, getting players in your system that you can constantly keep them coming up so that your big league team stays good. Yes, but sometimes when you are close, you're gonna need to spend some of those assets to bring in the big names to help the team. You don't want to deplete the whole system. I get that, but some of the names you're gonna have to be able to part with just so that you can get the players that can contribute now, because they want that 10-year window, and everybody does, but you don't know if it will be open that often or that long. And when you can see that it is open, that is the time to be making moves to give yourself a better shot. Again, you don't have to spend everything so that, like they said, you don't want to spend everything. So you're saying we're giving it all in 1 year, and if we don't get it this year, then you've hurt your system so bad that you're bad for the next 10 years. Nobody wants that. But you got to be, and you should be able to spend a little bit of it to help now. And that's where you're drafting every year keeps replacing the stuff that you just let go. Again, you don't let go of everything, but some of it you're just gonna have to. You're gonna have to. If that's what it's gonna take to get some other names in, then that's what you got to do. Okay, I don't want to hear that we are not big names away, that we don't need to do this or do that. Well, look, we have a team here now that is, both batting and pitching. The core of both is World Series worthy, right? So you got to put the other players around them that can help them get there. And you can't just keep putting you can't be putting players around them that are putting the seasons together that Colton Wong and AJ Pollock did, and think that that's gonna be enough. All right, like I said, I don't spend any more time on it because you've heard all about it already. So let's go ahead, and I kind of felt like this is a co-main topic week, so we're gonna go and we're gonna skip over to the OL Reign next. All right, and let's talk OL Reign, and specifically, let's talk Megan Rapinoe's last home game. Uh, it was amazing. Obviously, I couldn't go, but I was able to watch on TV from home, and it was amazing. I mean, uh, it was record-breaking ticket sales and attendance for any NWSL game. 34,130 people in attendance. The game was moved. I mean, if you're not a NWSL fan, you may not know that NWSL games are on Paramount Plus streaming service. Well, this game was getting so much buzz and so much attention that they moved it to prime time on CBS. That's how big of a deal it was. And it was entertaining. They did a good job of all the festivities and celebration of Megan Rapinoe before the game, during the game, after the game. The game itself, Rapinoe had she got a few good shots. She had some good crosses to teammates. Just she was never quite able to get it in, or her teammates weren't quite able to get it in for a goal or an assist and we ended up drawing with Washington 0-0. But it was a great crowd. It was electric. Again, great celebration after the game. And she's just an amazing player. We already talked about it, when she first announced her retirement. So I'm not going to go over all of her accomplishments again, but they gave her the celebration after the game. So accomplished in the game and outside of the game, and that being the outside of the game, sounds like there's going to be more for her to do outside of being a player, but for the game. During her retirement, not her retirement, but her farewell speech, because season's not over, so she hasn't officially retired. It was just the last home game. So during her little speech after the game, though, last home game, she was saying that she hopes to see each and one of everybody of the fans who were in attendance at every home game next year. And that is because it is now known that the OL Reign is up for sale, and Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird are potentially going to be owners. There's maybe an ownership group being put together. Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird could be buying the OL Reign. Okay, so the NWSL commissioner says that she told Rapino that they will talk whenever she is ready, and we'll see. We'll see about Rapino being an owner of the OL Run, which is great because, I just want to say Seattle Reign. That they're Seattle. I don't want to say OL just because the whatever group in France owns them. They're in Seattle. Let's call them Seattle Reign. I mean, even though why couldn't they just leave it? Because they got to put their brand on it. We got to call them OL. Come on. Let's make this happen. Let's get Rapino and Bird buying the Reign, and just two legendary sports figures in the community, then owning the team. That would be fantastic. So yeah, there we go. And then since we're talking about OL Reign right now, let's go ahead and also finish out this discussion of the OL Reign by saying that they are currently 6th in the standings. They are in a playoff spot, the last playoff spot. They have one game left. The last game is coming up against who is it against? Chicago Red Stars on Sunday, October 15th. Okay, and this is huge. Okay, we have 29 points. There are 3 teams ahead of us that, if we just happen to get a win and they all got a draw, we would shoot up to number 3 because, if we got a win, we'd get 3 points, and that would put us ahead of the 3 teams that are tied in front of us. Okay, so that's how big that is. If we potentially could be out of the playoffs if we only got a draw or if we lost. And then the Orlando Pride got a win. We'd be out. So at the very, very least, we need, we need to not lose. Let's see. Pride, Angel City, and Louisville. Yeah, so there's 3 teams that could pass us if we lost and if they won. So we gotta win. We gotta hope for the win. That'd be the best case scenario, because I'm looking at the points now, 28, right? So even if we got a draw and got 1 point in the next match, Orlando Pride and Angel City, if they got a win, then they would end up being ahead of us, and then we would have to see about tiebreakers with any of the other 3 teams if they ended up losing their match. If we would end up winning the tiebreaker with them, depending on goals and all that, right? So best thing to do is to win this last match against the team. They just happen to be the team that's in very last place in all of NWSL. So hopefully we can score some goals on them and get a win and just not worry about it. And we're looking at, anywhere from 3rd place to 6th place in the playoffs, depending on whatever everybody else does. All right, so that's what's going on with the OL Reign. And I think that's all I got for the OL Reign and Megan Rapinoe for now. So let's get into the rest of the show. Let's go ahead and talk some Seahawks. Oh, right. It was the Seattle Seahawks bye week, and boy, did we need it with all the injuries that we have. Let's go ahead and give you an update on some of those. Hopefully, Geno Smith is going to be good. As far as we know, he got tackled on that out of bounds play where he felt like it was dirty with the player coming down on the back of him and dropping his weight. He hurt his knee on that one. Sounding like he's fine, and he'll be able to go in this upcoming week's game against Cincinnati, right? So that's good. Jaron Reed, he was back at practice on Monday, so sounds like he's going to be good. Damian Lewis and Phil Haynes, again, both getting injured on Monday's night game. We still don't know the status of them exactly, but hopefully both of them are going to be back. It sounds like it's possible that both could be back for this game. It would be great to have, your starting lineman back. I mean, our starting line has been so beat up. Like, my goodness, we beat up on the Giants, and you would just not believe, of course, an East Coast team, how many media outlets and people online are making excuses for the Giants because they had a offensive lineman who was injured. Well, we had our entire line shifted, so nobody was starting in their original spots. So we had 4 of our starters injured, so we had 4 backups in the game, Plus, our starting center was moved over to guard during the game so that our rookie center could come in and play center. That's how much our offensive line was dealing with on Monday night, and we were going against an excellent defense, and our offensive line did a great job. So I don't want to hear any excuse of, oh well, they had an injured tackle. Okay, it's the NFL. Every team is dealing with injuries, and some of them more than others. Again, look at the injury list. They had a couple of injuries on their team where we had like a dozen injuries. So come on, don't be weak with those excuses. Trey Brown, he missed last week's game with concussion. He was back at practice on Monday, so looks like he's going to be able to go this week. Kobe Bryant, we're not sure on his status yet with his toe injury, so that's still up in the air even after the bye week. Derek Young, they are saying, is getting close. We don't know if we'll see him this week, but it sounds like he's, he's at least out there running, but not practicing yet. So I don't think it's going to be this week, but I sure would love to see Derek Young back on the field. My goodness, can you imagine this receiver room with Derek Young? I mean, that was one of the dreams of going into the season. It was like, wow, with all the weapons that Geno Smith is going to have, this is going to be insane, because you're going to have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Derek Young, Jackson Smith and Jigba, our tight ends. And Derek Young, okay, he's not Debo Samuel, but he is Debo Samuel-esque, right? So you would love to have that weapon back on the field. And to me, that's what would make this receiver room the best receiver room in the league, is the depth and all the abilities of all the players that they have throughout the receiver room. Okay, I had a friend asking me if I thought the receivers for the Seahawks are better than the 49ers receivers. All right, and of course everybody's tripping all over themselves and drooling all over themselves right now to praise how good the 49ers are because of how good they looked against the Cowboys on Monday. But yes, I do think the receiver room is better than the 49ers receiver room. Okay, there might be individuals who are better than individuals on our team, but as a whole, I think our receiver room is much deeper. Okay, you can go 49ers and you say Deebo Samuel, excellent. Brandon Ayuk, excellent. George Kittle has been playing excellent this year. CMC, he is an excellent receiver, obviously, right? But if we're looking at Seahawks, you're looking at DK, Lockett, JSN, Derek Young, any of our tight ends. You're looking at okay. And just to prove my point, name the backup tight end for the 49ers. If you're a casual fan, I challenge you to name the backup tight end for the 49ers, okay? and that's what I mean, is I think our team overall has more talent across the board at the position. Okay, so it would be great if we can get Derek Young back. It would be great if we could get Kenny McIntosh back. He was put on IR as well, but he is going to be eligible to be coming off of it. So it would be great to have him in at depth. We obviously haven't seen him in, so we don't know what he's going to look like with this team. But what I've seen of him, I think he's going to be a really good addition to this team as well, and be able to help out in different situations. So it'd be great to see him in the mix. Abraham Lucas is also going to be eligible to return from IR. Carroll said that they're not rushing it, so I don't know if he's going to be playing this year either. As he said, you know, they they got to be patient and see what happens. But in the next couple of weeks, Abe Lucas should be back. So again, having a starting tackle back would be great as well. The more starters that we can get back on this offensive line, the great, because we've seen how well our back has been playing and the depth that we have, and we just got to keep that going and keep getting better throughout the season. Let's see here. What else did I want to say about the Seahawks this week? Witherspoon, because it's been a while since my last episode, he was named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, not just Rookie of the Week, the NFC Overall Defensive Player of the Week. This was just his third game playing in the NFL. Again, to remind you, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, an interception return for a touchdown. Absolutely amazing. Like I said, we're comparing him with. I was telling you that I'm comparing him to players I thought the Seahawks could take: Jalen Carter and Christian Gonzalez. Unfortunately for Christian Gonzalez, he is out for the season, so we're not going to be making that comparison anymore because it wouldn't be fair. Obviously, the guy is injured and out for the rest of the year, so can't make that comparison anymore. Jalen Carter, we're seeing, yeah, he still looks great, right? Looks like he's got the ability to be disruptive as a tackle on the defensive line. He's playing less than 50% of the snaps for the Eagles. And I just want to make a comparison of how, Witherspoon, he's out there almost every snap, and we need that. I don't think the Seahawks could, with how bad the defense was last year, they cannot afford to take a player that is going to be in less than 50% of the snaps. The Eagles can afford to do that because they have a great defensive line. They already had great depth at the defensive line, and taking Jalen Carter just made them even stronger and even deeper, right? So they could afford to do that. The Seahawks could not afford to take a guy who was either going to be in less than 50% of the snaps, or if he was in on 100% of the snaps, was not going to be giving 100% of his effort on every play, right? So, right now, I'm still thinking Witherspoon looks like the very best pick they could have made. I would have loved Jalen Carter, and what he does is, I think, potentially generational talent that you can have on the defensive tackle. But for the Seahawks and their situation, I still am convinced that they made the right move for this team. And the other thing I wanted to mention, after 4 weeks, or 4 games played, 5 weeks now with the bye, so far, we are on pace for that 12 wins I talked about. We got 3 wins. We're 3-1 through the first quarter of the season. Keep being 3-1 each quarter, and you're at that 12 wins I talked about. We got our next game against the Bengals. Joe Burrows finally was looking like he was his old self this week after dealing with injury. We're gonna find out this week what version of Joe Burrows are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a guy that looks like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, or are we going to be dealing with the guy that has been dealing with injuries and doesn't have it? I think our defense, the way we've been playing, maybe we can get to him, maybe we can bother him and rough him up, and maybe that affects his play. That gets in his mind and affects the way he plays, and we can get him. I think this team is going to like match up with a lot of teams this year. I mean, just the unique players that we have on defense: Witherspoon, Jamal Adams. Again, he should be back this week as well. I didn't mention that in the injuries. Obviously, he dealt with concussion, but he should be back this week. It's sounding like, Reek Woolen, Draymond Jones. He finally was making a big impact last week, and we've seen it on some plays here and there throughout the season, but he was a constant guy in the last game. So if he can keep that up as well in the next game, Mafe and Nuosu continuing to break out, Jaron Reed band back. I mean, look, we're just going through the list here. I mean, that whole entire defense, it's really coming together. And again, with the way this team has talked about how everybody is buying into this system this year, and then we've heard from multiple players that last year that left and joined new teams, and they themselves said they didn't buy into what the Seahawks were doing. It just shows again how much the buy-in is helping this team get everything done. Right, and obviously there's a lot of new talent and upgraded talent, but everybody buying into what they need to do is making this defense look like it can. If it runs on all cylinders, this defense is going to be tough to stop or tough to get anything against. I mean, yeah, we're going to be going up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins possibly this next week. But we have multiple corners that could stop any of them, right? So again, we're looking at a situation where our corners are covering so good. Maybe they actually are giving the defensive linemen like a half second longer to create that pressure and to get the sack. So it really is one of those things like we saw with the elite defenses that Seattle had 10 years ago, where it was so close. You couldn't say, is the defensive line helping the corners? Yes. Are the corners helping the defensive line? Yes. That's how good both units were, and that's how good both units of this team are playing right now. I really like the matchups that we have coming out of the bye as well. The whole middle of our schedule is, I think, lining up pretty nicely for us. The second half of our schedule, who is gonna get tough? We got listen to this. Starting on Thanksgiving, we have San Francisco on Thursday. Then we get Dallas Cowboy the next Thursday. Then we go, or then we then we go to no, wait, sorry. So we're at home for Thanksgiving again on Thursday for San Francisco. Then we go to Dallas the next Thursday. Then we go to San Francisco again, and then we're home against the Eagles. That 4-week stretch right there, that is going to really show us what this team is made of. Oh my gosh. Like I said, San Francisco as well. Yeah, everybody's like I said, just tripping all over themselves to give them a compliment. Okay, I see some weaknesses in this team. Again, just like I said with how just the way we lined up against the Lions, right? Who have a very good defense this year. The way we lined up, or matched up, I should say, matched up with the Giants, who have an excellent defense, right? A lot of excellent defensive linemen, a lot of excellent linebackers there. The way we match up with them, specifically, I think is an advantage for the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks again with the running game, as long this is a ways away, so we don't know what's going to happen. But if K9 can stay healthy, if Charbonnet stays healthy, if we get our offensive linemen playing at the level that they are, and we get the offensive linemen starters back and they play at the level we know they can play at, I think again the unique skills of K9 is going to be able to take advantage uh, of what the San Francisco 49ers defense is. Again, the way I hear people talking about them, they're talking like they have no weaknesses. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I think this team can be run on. Brock Purdy, I don't think he's amazing. I think he's got amazing weapons, but we have amazing elite corners here that are going to be able to cover their weapons so much better than any of their opponents that they've had so far can. And again, I think that's going to give Purdy a harder time. And hopefully, our defensive line is going to be able to bring some pressure and kind of, finally give him a hard time and kind of show what his actual skill level is. Okay, but that's looking way ahead. Next game is the Bengals. I'm excited for that. Can't wait, and hopefully we pick up a win against them. All right, that's the Seahawks. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and we can go ahead and talk. Come on, we can go ahead and talk a little Kraken now. All right, the Seattle Kraken, the season is about to start. They just finished the preseason. The last game was against the Oilers. They lost that one 4-1. Okay, they put out the final roster for opening night. This is our opening night roster. These are our forwards: Jordan Eberle, Matty Beniers, Brendan Tanev, Jaden Schwartz, Jared McCann, Ellie Tolvanen, Alex Wenberg. I still have a hard time with hockey names. Oliver Borkstrand, Yanni Gord, Pierre Edward Belmar, Ty Cartier, Kyler Yamamoto, Andre Burakowski, and then for our defensemen, we have Will Borgen, Justin Schultz, Adam Larson, Brian Dumoulin, Jamie Oleksiak, Vince Dunn, and Jacob Megna. Our goaltenders, Philip Grubauer and Joey Decord is the man they named to be the backup goalie. All right, so a lot of great names in there coming from last year. Some new names as well. Glad to see that Yamamoto, local fan favorite, made the team on the main roster here. And our first game is going to be up against the Vegas Golden Knights. So we're getting a tough matchup right out the bat tomorrow night. That's another one. I'm ready to tune in. I am ready to be watching some hockey again this year. Third season for the Seattle Kraken, and yeah, I want to see them get back into the playoffs again. I'm hoping that they can, get even farther into the playoffs this year. Again, I'm not a hockey expert at all, just getting back into hockey with the Kraken coming to Seattle. And again, when I watched it, the last time I watched it before the Kraken came here, I was a little kid, so I never really understood what was going on in hockey. It was just like I love sports, and it was one of the big sports, so whenever it was on TV I would watch it, but I never really knew what was going on. And so I can't sit here and tell you like I have any expert knowledge on what their record is going to be this year or how they're going to perform this year. This is again just one of the sports that I just watch as a fan, and cheering and rooting for this team. I'm hoping they can, you know, I'm hoping they can go all the way this year. Yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride, and again, hopefully, I keep learning more about this game of hockey as the years go on. I joined just some random, um, fantasy hockey league this year, just so I can, you know, I think for anybody out there who because that's what this whole show is about as well, right? Is talking about every Seattle team and supporting them all because they do great things for this community and they do a good job, so it should be recognized. So if you want to support these teams, but you don't know much about the sport, I mean, that's what you should do. Go out and just join a random online fantasy team for whatever sport, right? It helps you pay attention a little bit more and learn more about the sport. Pick up a video game. Video games these days, they are so in depth about the detail that they put into these games on what the actual, what they actually do in a real life game. Just by playing these games, you can learn a lot about the sport. So for me, what I'm doing for hockey this year, I joined a fantasy hockey league, just so I can get to know the players around the league more and kind of know more about what I'm looking at and what the expectation level is of what a good player is. Because with the Kraken being back, I'm not watching hockey across the league, right? I'm just been watching the Kraken, so I see my players on my team and I go, "Oh, those guys are good." But I don't have any reference, right? So, hopefully I can learn a lot more this year about what is a good player and what makes a good player, and then next year maybe I'll have better insight of like, hey, you know these are positions that we want to get better at, or these are players that need to improve, right? But for now, I'm just watching as a good old fun, loving fan and ready to cheer this team on. So let's go Kraken. We don't even need to play the Sting for the Storm, but for the Storm, we should give note that Jordan Horston made the All Rookie team. So, congrats to Jordan Horston. I know she had to get shoulder surgery at the end of the season. She's rehabbing here in Seattle, sticking around the team, and hopefully that's gonna heal up and be all good. And hopefully, just being around here and in the facility where she's gonna get more practice when she's all healed up is gonna have her coming back even better and stronger next year for the next Storm season. Okay, so there's the Storm. Just a short little thing there. Let's go ahead and let's talk a little Sounders. Okay, and again for me, just so annoying that Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus, and then MLS Plus on top of that, right? That is an annoying way to have to get this service. So I'm just listening to radio calls right now to be able to know what's going on the Sounders games. I'm not actually watching the game. I mean, thankfully, the radio calls of the games are just like on the radio, right? And they're not also on some other service that you have to get or pay extra for, on top of a service that you're already paying for. But anyways, our last game was against LA, and we won 2-1. Christian Roldan hit the game winner in the 95th minute, so in extra time there, and that was amazing because that clinched us the playoffs. All right, so the the Sounders have clinched a playoff spot at this point, and now we're just down to where are they going to be positioned in the playoffs. Their last game was against Vancouver, and uh, they had a draw 0-0, so they just picked up 1 point. But currently, the Seattle Sounders, they have one game left to go as well, just like the OL Reign, right? So their last game is going to be on Saturday, October 21st against St. Louis, and this is how it's going to potentially affect the standings. For us, we are currently in third place. LA is 1 point ahead of us. So potentially, if we got a win and LA just got a draw or a loss, then we would move up against LA and become the number 2 seed in the playoffs. So that would be huge. Okay. And we could potentially lose our next match, and if Houston won, they could move ahead of us for number 3, and then we would move down to 4. So a couple different potential outcomes for the Sounders here. Now, again, our last game is against St. Louis. It's the exact opposite from the OL Reign, where the OL Reign are facing the very last place team for their last game. That's going to decide their positioning for the playoffs, or if they make the playoffs. The Sounders, they've already clinched the playoffs, but it's to decide their position for the playoffs. They have to go against the number 1 team in the league right now. So a taller task for them to overcome and try to go for that number 2 seed. But that's hopefully they're going to get it done. We'll see. We'll be rooting them on. We'll be cheering them on. And then once the playoff starts, we'll be cheering on during that as well, and hoping that they can bring home the MLS Cup this year. And then recently everybody's been healthy. So it seems like in general, we've been scoring more goals lately. So hopefully it seems like the Sounders are getting healthy at just the exact right time, getting ready for the playoffs, and that's gonna help them in the playoffs. It seems like. All right, and then that's all I have for the Sounders. There's nothing new to talk about with the Sea Dragons. Again, the last thing we heard is that the XFL and the USFL are merging. We still don't have any more info about that. So that's it. That is that's all we know about the Sea Dragons right now. We'll just keep you updated whenever we get more news about them. And that is going to be the end of our show. So a couple of things I want to know from you that I want you to put in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube before we head out of here. I want to know, how do you feel about 54%, and how do you feel about Jerry DiPoto press conference in general, and his apology? Did that make you feel any better? Again, for me, it's going to be actions more than words. I don't care what he said about his apology, and whatever he was trying to use humor in the moment. I don't care. I want to see action. Okay, whatever it is, I'm not going to be accepting any apology until I see action. The action is going to speak louder than words for me. Let me know if you feel the same way in the comments. Seahawks, Bengals is the next game. Do you think the Seahawks can beat the Bengals if Joe Burrows comes in playing like he did in the last game? And then, are you a Kraken fan? Are you excited for the Kraken this season? Do you think they can go as far as they did last season? And let me know if you think they can go even farther. And let me know, just, leave all the love for Megan Rapinoe in the comments as well, and her legendary career here in Seattle as a member of the Reign. And hopefully we'll see her, you know, as a legendary owner in the NWSL going forward as well. Let me know in the comments for sure how you feel, or how much you want Megan Rapinoe to be an owner of the Reign. All right, so that is going to be the episode. Again, please hit the subscribe button, notification bell. That's going to help out the show. Comments help, sharing it with your friends, that's the thing that helps the most. If you're listening to the podcast, hitting the follow button, hitting the subscribe button, leaving a review, those are all things that don't cost you anything, but they help the show and they help the community grow. Again, I did set up a Discord channel. The link should be in the description, so you can copy and paste that in, and join a community of Seattle sports fans. That's what I'm trying to grow and build here, so that would be lovely if you did that. And thank you so much for listening to the Seattle Sports Show, where we watch legends awaken and breathe fire. So take cover, because with a sea of sound, you will see us rise to reign supreme and win forever.